All right, it's 10 o'clock. I think we'll get started. Can everybody hear and see the presentation? Thanks to everyone who is attending virtually today. For those who couldn't make it, we're recording this meeting. It will be posted on the committee page of the OPA website as a reference. Looks like we have about half the committees here, which is great. Basically, today we're going to go over the committee document we prepared and then answer any questions. This document is posted on the committee page of the website and it'll be updated if there are any changes. Got one more. So on the second page of this, we just have an index to everything. Committee information, all committee information, including member and liaison emails, meeting minutes and agendas, committee reports, committee resolutions, charging documents, and committee applications can be found on the Ocean Pines website. Committee meeting dates, including links to virtual and hybrid meetings, can be found on the Ocean Pines website as well. And that's a link to the calendar page. If you go to the home page of the website, it's always at the top right. Committee protocol, committee chairperson should send committee meeting agendas, meeting minutes, and other reports to Michelle Lane Ross, administrative assistant for the GM. To schedule a committee meeting, email Michelle and include the date, time, and requested location for your meeting. Chairs should send meeting info for the new calendar year every January, and requests for virtual or hybrid meetings using Teams should also be made at this time. All other committee requests should go through the committee liaison, which is your board member. For virtual meeting protocol, we can do hybrid meetings using Microsoft Teams in the administrative conference room, which used to be called the Peach Room. Michelle will make sure a member of the IT department is able to help you start the Teams meeting. For a fully virtual meeting using Teams, committee chairs have to coordinate with their liaison to start the meeting. That's because some parts of Teams require someone with an oceanpines.org email to do certain functions. So you'll need a board member to pull that off. Committees can also use other virtual environments such as Zoom, Google Meet, etc. But those meetings have to be set up and run by the committee members without any staff support. If you're new to using Teams, there's a basic tutorial here. You'll get the email link, and you can also find that on the calendar page, which is the top right of the website. Click on that, and it should be a link to start the meeting. We recommend if you're new, click on continue on this browser. If prompted, allow Teams to use your microphone and your camera, and then enter your name and click join now, and you should be good to go. Sharing documents in Teams is actually pretty straightforward, but there is one trick to it that we recommend. And that is make sure the file you want to use is already open before you start. So if you're trying to share a PDF or a PowerPoint, click on the screen share icon, click on the desktop window that will open right below it. I have two dogs, so this is a familiar sound. Select window next, select your file, and then click on share. Another quick trick to Teams is if you have a Teams link for these committee meetings, you can usually start them anytime and just poke around and just check out some of the features of Teams. You may need your liaison to help with this, but it's good to get on there and just try some of this stuff out. Some notes on Teams. If you're trying to use the Microsoft Teams app, which does have more features, you'll need a Microsoft account. To create that, there's a link here. There's also Microsoft has tutorials on joining Teams meetings and a whole playlist of stuff on using Microsoft Teams and all the features. There's a lot of stuff there, but for basic use, you can use the browser. We did have one question when I sent this invite out. That was how should committees handle recording Teams meetings? We discussed this a little bit. I think this is kind of a board discussion, but we thought of three options. The board makes a decision, number one, that committee meetings are not to be recorded. Right now, I'm only aware of maybe two committees that regularly record. That's bylaws and occasionally strategic planning. Most of the others do not. I know budget and finance does occasionally. But the board could make the decision that they just don't want these to be recorded. Number two, the board could make a decision that the liaisons could handle the responsibility for their committee assignments. They can start and stop the recordings and email the files to be posted. Again, that's because some of the features of Teams require someone to have an oceanpines.org account. The third option is the board tasks the GM with assigning someone the responsibility. This wouldn't be too much work for staff. Staff would only have to start and stop the recording. They wouldn't have to attend the whole meeting. So that's the presentation as it is right now. Does anyone have any other questions on the protocol, the process, anything else we can add and expand to this FAQ? Laura, you have a question?
Yes.
Yeah.
Was trying to find the raise hand button. I'm a Zoom girl. You know, I'm pretty good with Zoom. Teams,
and you can use that.
You know,
you can, if you want to use that for the bylaws meetings, you can opt to do that, but you've got to run it without staff support.
May have to do that.
Yeah.
So my question then is if we had to, because let's just say renovations were taking forever and
Right.
we can't use the room and we have to meet totally virtually, but our liaison was going to be excused from that meeting, but the committee was still going to have their meeting. Who would start the meeting then? Is that somebody that we talk to, Michelle or Linda, or, you know, somebody?
Yeah, right now
we would
we're
still
asking.
have quorum to be able to meet with, because our liaison does not actually count as quorum for our meetings. You know, it's the members of the committee. And if we chose to still go ahead and meet, you know, but we had to do that totally virtually with all of us for whatever reason. You said that the liaison has to start it, but then what would happen in that case?
Linda, Michelle, you want to handle that?
Well, we did say we'd have IT come in and handle starting the meetings.
Okay.
But she's talking about a fully virtual where there's nobody on site because there's not a room available. And the liaison isn't available to help as well.
Meeting. I don't think it's just anyone, as like if you start a Teams meeting, people just join into it. So it wouldn't be that someone initially just has to start it. It would be anyone could start the meeting.
I believe that you have to have someone with an oceanpines.org email address starting that meeting. So it'd have to be staff or board member.
Okay.
So if there is a case where your liaison isn't available, send a note to Michelle and we'll do our
send
best
a note to me. We'll work it out. I'll do it, or they'll do, you know, IT somebody. Yeah.
Right. It doesn't happen all the time, but it does sometimes, you know, you know, we're all sick or whatever, but
just send a note to me. That's fine.
Have our meeting.
Yeah, we'll get it worked out.
Okay. And then, Josh, I wanted to ask, because I have done the screen sharing of the documents and all of that.
Yeah.
And you had always recommended that they be in like PDF form. Can I have them in Word document form to still share from the screen too? So that it doesn't, okay. Cause some of ours we like to actually change while we're working on it.
Yeah. That works too. Just make sure that file is open before you go to share, because it won't be in that list of files that you can share if the file isn't already open.
Okay. All right. And then my last question, as you can see, I do lots of meetings too. So if our committee were, because as you mentioned, I'm with the bylaws committee, we do record all of our meetings. We have so much stuff that we go over. It's much more beneficial for us to be able to record them, because truthfully, you may be the only ones who go back and rewatch it.
Right. And it's a reference at least to the committee.
Right. So we would like to, I know I'm pretty safe to be able to say the rest of my committee members, we would like to continue recording our meetings moving forward. If the board were to say, how do I say it? If the board were, I don't know what we would do if the board would say no committee is allowed to record ever at all, because I don't think that's fair. But you mentioned that because I have my own Zoom account. I use it for tons of meetings myself. If I were to set up our own meeting link with Zoom, because I know how to screen share and all that, and I can record it and save it, would I be able to then send that recording to somebody to be able to post it still, or how would we work that? Or am I making too much of a mess for you?
That's going to be a question for the board. As it stands now, you're totally welcome to. And if you're meeting fully virtually without any kind of hybrid and you're comfortable in Zoom, I would probably recommend you just go with Zoom and you can run it yourself. As it stands right now, we're happy to post those if you want to email those. But set that up through your liaison and work through that board channel to get that done.
Okay. All right. I mean, we will use Teams first, but there may be a time or a situation that maybe due to, a quick turnaround or whatever, that we just go ahead and say, hey, we're going to use a Zoom link for this one because we threw in an extra meeting or whatever. What we did not, or what I don't remember seeing on the paper is there a recommended amount of time that we need to submit our request for a link?
For a virtual meeting?
Yeah, or a hybrid meeting,
I mean, ideally every January you're sending your request for your full calendar year right then to Michelle, and then we set up everything there. If you have meetings, emergency meetings and stuff like that, Michelle, Linda, the protocol is 2-3 days, something like that.
Yeah, try to do 2-3 days. Just if it is a hybrid meeting, we just have to make sure the room's available. So yeah, if you give us a few days notice, that would work fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Tom, you had a question?
Yes, I do. We talked about this 4 years ago, Josh. I was very concerned about our HOA putting 13 years of videos on YouTube for the world to see, airing your laundry, whether it be clean or dirty. Now that Ocean Pines has purchased this cloud service, is there a move to those of us in the elections committee will record all of our meetings and put them out there because we're gluttons for punishment? But anyways, is there a move for Ocean Pines to do away with YouTube and post those videos to our cloud site that can only be accessed by our membership?
That's a question for the board.
I'm going to make that question.
That's policy, and that goes to the board.
Because that's what we do in the park. We have guidelines on retention of documents and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
And in this day and age, you've got to control stuff. Okay. Thank you.
You bet. Bill, you had a question?
Yes. Hi, good morning, everyone. Bill Barnard with Recreation and Parks. First, thanks for doing this. It's very helpful. And also thanks for all your support.
You bet.
My question has to do with the hybrid meeting. I guess you call them hybrids, where you have some people in the room and then others online.
Right.
We haven't done one of those yet for our committee, but maybe could you just touch on kind of the sequence of events if we were interested in doing that? Do we have to reserve a special room, or how does that work?
It's the same as scheduling a meeting. We have the capability for hybrid in the administrative conference room, which used to be known as the Peach Room. Right now, that's the only room where we can do that. We normally like committees to schedule these meetings during normal business hours, which is, I believe, 8 to 4:30. So you would go through Michelle, you would request that. Someone from IT would be there to start the meeting for you and make sure that's all set up. And then you could have, there's room for roughly a dozen people in the room, and as many people as you want coming online as well. And it works pretty seamlessly.
Okay, so that's similar to how they do the board meetings. Is that the room you guys use
Correct.
for that? Yeah. Okay, great. During business
Josh?
hours. Okay, gotcha. Thank you.
Right. I know some of the committees like to meet at 6 or 7 o'clock, and
Yeah.
I think we would prefer not to have
No, understood. Yeah.
those hybrid meetings. Yeah.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you.
Laura and then Dick.
Sorry, that did bring up a question for me about the hybrids. We did our first hybrid a week ago, something like that. And I realized once I got there with my laptop, because I was going to be doing the screen sharing with our documents and everything, there's no public Wi-Fi in there, so that I could connect from my laptop to the Teams link in order to be able to share my documents up on the big screen. And plus we were recording our meeting, but one of the, I guess, IT people came in and logged me in without me seeing. But how do we handle that? I hate to be a burden and say, gee, I need somebody every single time to come in and hook me into the Wi-Fi so I can, because I have no problems bringing my laptop and doing all of that. And I would prefer to do it that way versus having to every meeting put my files on a thumb drive and then bring it in. Is there an easier way to do that?
I would just let Michelle know when you're scheduling the meeting that that's one of your needs, that you'll need that Wi-Fi to be able to do that. Normally, once you enter that Wi-Fi password, it should be in there, stored in your computer.
Okay. All right.
But if you let Michelle know when you're scheduling the meeting that that's a need, she should be able to take care of you.
I'll give it a try tomorrow. Our next meeting's tomorrow, so I'll be up there tomorrow afternoon. So.
You got it. Dick, you had a question? You're muted.
Excuse me. Okay. So just a couple of things. I assume Michelle M. Ross at oceanpines.org is your email. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, great. And just to recap, what I think I heard here is that you will do room scheduling, post minutes, reports, adjust the calendar based on email requests. Okay. Very good. As I understand it, the liaison will basically start the meeting. People will join in, but the liaison will start the meeting and record and stop as requested, I guess is what I heard. One other question.
If it's fully virtual, yes.
Yeah, we do hybrid, so yeah. So
okay. If it's hybrid in the conference room, you're going to have IT coming in and turning it on for you.
Okay. Michelle, are you the one that basically will do the hybrid invites, or is that the liaison that's going to do that?
Michelle will be doing that.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. All right.
Anything involved with scheduling a meeting, setting up the room, or sending minutes, reports, agendas goes to Michelle. Everything else needs to go through your liaison.
Okay. Okay. Any communication with Michelle, should we be copying others? Such as minutes scheduling?
I don't believe it needs to be. You could copy your liaison. That's probably good protocol anyway.
Right.
But Michelle will take care of funneling those requests where they need to go.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, you bet. Anybody else? Great. Well, thanks, everybody. It looks like we've got a little bit more than half that attended of the committees.
I'm sorry, I joined late.
No problem.
I'm sorry,
Cheryl.
I joined late.
we did record this, and we'll post it for reference. And if anybody needs anything, any questions, you can send them to Michelle, and we'll try to get those answered. And then we'll update this FAQ document as well and post that as part of the PowerPoint. All right. Okay, thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Have a great day.